Throughout history, elite assassins didn't rely on brute strength or massive weapons. They operated in the shadows, mastering the fragile, intricate wiring of the human respiratory system. To silence a target instantly, they bypassed armor and muscle, striking directly at the body's hidden pressure points. These weren't myths. They were calculated biological short circuits designed to violently halt the diaphragm and collapse the lungs. Today, we are opening the dark archives to reveal the 10 banned assassin pressure points that stop the breath instantly. 1. The Tiantu, tracheal notch. Located at the hollow base of the throat, the Tiantu point sits entirely unprotected by bone or heavy muscle. Ancient assassins targeted this precise depression with a rigid, driving spear hand thrust. By plunging stiffened fingers directly inward and downward, they physically crushed the trachea while simultaneously traumatizing the vagus nerve. The victim's airway violently spasms and locks completely shut. As oxygen is instantly cut off, absolute panic sets in, paralyzing the target in silent, agonizing suffocation before they can even scream for help. 2. The Shan Jong, sternum center. Positioned dead center on the breastbone, the Shan Jong protects the heart and the cardiac plexus. An assassin striking this point used a penetrating one-knuckle punch to drive an intense kinetic shockwave through the bone. This brutal impact doesn't just fracture the sternum, it violently shocks the lungs sitting directly beneath it. The sudden, localized trauma forces all the air to forcefully evacuate the chest cavity. The victim's respiratory rhythm is completely shattered, dropping them to their knees, gasping helplessly for air in the darkness. 3. The Jiu Wei, solar plexus core. Just beneath the sternum sits a dense, highly vulnerable web of nerves controlling the diaphragm. Striking the Jiu Wei point with a devastating, upward-driving palm heel sends a catastrophic shockwave directly into the respiratory engine. The vagus nerve is severely traumatized, instantly plummeting the victim's blood pressure. More importantly, the diaphragm forcibly locks in a paralyzed state, making it physically impossible to inhale. This suffocating, agonizing shutdown incapacitates even the largest targets, leaving them wide open for the assassin's final, silent execution. 4. The Qi Men, liver meridian. Located on the right side of the body, just below the pectoral muscle, the Qi Men point is the direct gateway to the liver and lower lungs. A devastating, driving hook punch or knee strike into this nerve cluster stretches the liver capsule and violently compresses the right lung. The body instantly sends an emergency distress signal directly to the brain. The intense wave of radiating agony forces the respiratory system to freeze, collapsing the victim's breathing as they involuntarily curl into a fetal position. 5. The Jiang Men, floating ribs. The lowest floating ribs house the Jiang Men point, deeply connected to the intercostal nerves that expand and contract the chest. A targeted, driving elbow strike to this unprotected flank causes the brittle bone to violently pinch these crucial respiratory nerves. The massive surge of localized, blinding pain forces the entire torso to violently spasm. The victim's ability to draw breath is immediately paralyzed by the agonizing shock. The lungs refuse to expand, dropping the target silently to the floor in total respiratory failure. 6. The Kui Pen, clavicle hollow. Just above the collarbone lies a deep, vulnerable depression containing the apex of the lungs and the phrenic nerve. Shadow assassins would execute a downward, penetrating strike using a reinforced thumb directly into the Kui Pen cavity. This brutal compression traumatizes the specific nerve responsible for controlling the diaphragm's movement. The resulting kinetic shockwave instantly deadens the breathing mechanism. The target experiences a terrifying, sickening inability to pull oxygen into their lungs, turning their entire upper body completely numb and completely helpless. 7. The Ya-Men, spinal base. Considered a highly forbidden strike, the Ya-Men sits exactly where the skull meets the top of the cervical spine. A forceful, precise strike to this intersection violently interrupts the brain's communication with the respiratory system. The medulla oblongata, which controls involuntary breathing, suffers a massive, instantaneous short circuit. The target loses all voluntary muscle control in a fraction of a second, and their lungs simply forget how to operate. It results in a terrifying, absolute physical paralysis and immediate cessation of breath. 8. The Dantian, lower abdomen. Located roughly 2 inches below the navel, the Dantian is considered the body's center of gravity and breath control. A twisting, penetrating palm thrust to this region bypasses the stomach muscles entirely, sending a shockwave deep into the viscera. This severe internal disruption triggers massive biological panic. The autonomic nervous system responds by violently contracting the abdominal wall, forcing all air out of the lungs and preventing any new breath from entering. The warrior collapses in an unconscious state of biological shock. 9. The Ren Yi-ing, carotid sinus. Located on either side of the Adam's apple, the Ren Yi-ing point is the ultimate biological off switch for both blood and breath. Shadow operatives executed a crushing inward grip here, violently pinching the carotid sinus while simultaneously compressing the windpipe. This dual attack tricks the brain into dropping the blood pressure to 0 while completely blocking the airway. The opponent experiences a sudden, overwhelming wave of dark, suffocating panic. In less than 3 seconds, the respiratory drive fails entirely, and the body goes completely limp. 10. The Feng Qi, occipital hollows. At the hollows beneath the base of the skull lies the Feng Qi point. Striking this dual nerve cluster with a specialized, heavy ridge hand violently disrupts the blood flow to the brain and severely shocks the brainstem. Because the brainstem directly governs the automatic breathing reflex, a forceful impact here triggers an instantaneous biological short circuit. The victim experiences a rapid, terrifying loss of respiratory function and an immediate, heavy blackout. It is a silent, lethal shutdown engineered for the dark. The most terrifying assassins in history did not need heavy blades to eliminate their targets. They used the exact science of human anatomy. By mastering these fragile pressure points, they could instantly silence an enemy by turning off their ability to breathe. These forbidden secrets prove that the deadliest weapons are the invisible ones. To see the horrifying anatomical strikes that ancient samurai used to cause instant blackouts on the battlefield, click the video on your screen right now. Hit subscribe and stay dangerous.